Hello, welcome to another episode of Generally Speaking. I'm your host, Bill Lawrence. Today is Wednesday, December 31st, New Year's Eve, the end of 25. Hope you all have a party. I just pretty much sleep through them myself. But I got a lot of things here, so I'm just going to jump through all of them really quickly. Jim Beam, that famous alcohol company, they're going to be closing their main distillery while sales are down and they're close to Canada. A lot of their stuff went to Canada, and you know how much Trump pissed off Canada, so they just stopped buying Canadian U.S. alcohol. So they're closing down. From Yahoo News, we got Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee, representative in the Congress. He's introducing a bill to allow privateers to attack cartel drug boats. Just when you thought the age of pirates and buccaneers was over, here he is to try and bring them back. All right, Trump is going to increase immigration enforcement budget by 170 billion through 29 to hire more agents, to conduct more raids, and build more detention centers. That's what we need: more detention centers with no oversight. It's really pathetic. There's no oversight in these detention centers. In Ohio, citizens are pushing for a referendum abolishing property taxes. You know, that would really mess with the state's budget. You know how much budget cities, towns, everybody relies on taxing the homeowners. Now, while I think that's a real turmoil, something would have to be reasoned. You can't just do that and expect life to go on. So much is dependent on it. But on the other hand, I agree with it. You shouldn't ever have to pay taxes forever on something. It's like you never own it. You don't own your own home. You're essentially renting it from the government with the taxes you have to pay every year, and your car as well. I don't think there should be any property taxes. It might be a lot of work to try and reorganize everything so the finance stream keeps going, but I don't think there should be taxes on property. All right, a town in South Carolina, Mullins, South Carolina. The committee there defied an order from the mayor to bring down a nativity sign. They put up a little nativity. They put up some decorations in a town hall. It's a small town. They wanted to attract some business. Put decorations all over the place, including a nativity, Christmas decorations, right? And you know how we got all these atheists complaining, separation church and state, no nativities, and take it down. And this article was talking about a case that the Supreme Court looked at in 1984, Lynch v. Donnelly, where they ruled that a nativity is okay if it's part of a broader holiday display with secular elements. And I'd like to know how they get to that. Well, look, as long as there's a lot of other stuff around, then you can have the nativity. If it was just the nativity, no, that wouldn't be good. It's too in your face. If you got all this other distractive stuff, you wouldn't notice it was. Oh, look, is that a nativity? Oh, yeah, that's just a nativity. Just keep on walking. Nothing to see here. All right, Israel approves 19 new settlements in the West Bank. Israel, the horror country, they approved settlements. What's that mean? They said, you can go into this territory that you don't own and kick out the people that are in there, threaten them with violence, in fact, enact some violence, and kick them out and take their properties. Israel, horrible place. Lincoln was assassinated, we all think, for slavery, but it was an interesting article I was reading about his take on the central banks. Apparently, him and Jackson and other people over time, including Kennedy, have had issues with central banks. These people controlling the money. You control everything. If you control the money, banks, give me some money so I can conduct a war. Give me some money so I can build a highway. Give me some money so I can pay the army more. And if they can say no, and they control it. And this thing was interesting. It was saying how he was assassinated, I think, because of the bank things. And recently, when one thing pops up on your feeds, other things pop up. I was seeing more and more things about the banks, including Napoleon, who was against the central banks. I'm thinking there's a big story interesting. There could be a really good book about the central banks and the roles they play and the roles of people fighting against them. All right, Trump appoints a fellow named Jeff Landry as a special envoy to Greenland. Wonderful Greenland. You know how we were saying we were going to take it over? Well, what does he say? He says, it's an honor to help make Greenland a part of the United States. What a thing to say. Well, the European Union says that's non-negotiable. And you can imagine that's how they feel about it. Seed companies, seeds for planting plants with seeds, right? They have taken over the agriculture business to the point where there's only like two or three seed companies at all, and they have gotten to the point where they control the whole top to bottom of the growing your alfalfa, wheat, corn, what have you, product, such that you've got to use their corn, you've got to use their seeds, their herbicides, even their programs that you report everything on the computer. You keep track of what you bought, what you didn't buy. They're even making these seeds that they won't grow if you don't use their fertilizer. If you don't use their fertilizer, they just won't grow. You have to use their fertilizer. This is like a total torture of our food system. We got crap food. We know we've got crap food. You go to Europe, you go to Colombia, you go to these other countries, you taste food like you never tasted before. What? This is a tomato. I never tasted a tomato. These oranges, they're so delicious. This country, we got corporate food. Not good. No good. No bueno. Okay, Pennsylvania sheriff. He decided to partner with ICE. He's going to go along with them. He's going to help them out. And if he loses the election, apparently the people didn't like that. I mean, he couldn't read the tea leaves. He couldn't read the room. ICE isn't your popular group these days. All right, Judge Boasberg. He ordered the return of the CCOT detainees. Let's see if those poor souls sent to El Salvador, if they actually ever end up coming back. This one, Arizona State Senator David Farnsworth. He introduced a bill to add intelligent design to the science curriculum. Intelligent design. I'm a scientist myself. And you want to talk about intelligent design? As a scientist, if you're just saying something intelligent created the universe, I'm not going to argue with it. You can't say where the universe came from. Could have been from some intelligent design. And if you leave it at that, I'll accept it. But if you start filling it out with all kinds of more details, like the intelligent design was a guy with three pieces, a Father, a Son, and a Holy Ghost, created an Adam and an Eve, and created the world instantaneously only 6,000 years ago, nope, then you lost me. So he wants to reintroduce it into the science curriculum. And he said he's not allowed to use the word creationism, which is what he's really peddling here. But he's not going to say that because he says he's not allowed. All right, what is this? I was looking at this thing about drones. And, we think about those drones come flying overhead, delivering Amazon pictures, boxes. I've never gotten one. I don't know anyone who ever got one from those. But, also in the war, right? They drop grenades, bombs, do reconnaissance. But this was about a drone that was the size and pretty much the shape of a dragonfly, a little tiny dragonfly. This thing can, just hang out in your garden on a leaf somewhere, looking for all the world like a dragonfly. You won't even notice it. I mean, who notices bugs on trees in the woods? And this thing's just recording everything you're saying and doing. And so all of this, recording stuff, all this spy stuff, it's getting crazy. The government's buying all this spy software so they can look at your Facebook. They can look at your phone without you even knowing it. They can get through your encryption. They can get everything from your phone. You don't even have to do anything. It's not like, some sneaky, hi, this is a message from Michelle. Please click here for a good time. And you click it. No, you don't have to click anything. They'll just push it right on there, get everything they want. It's Brave New World, as Aldous Huxley wrote. So that's that with that. ICE deports U.S. citizens. So, they just grab people. That's all. You look Hispanic, that's all you have to do. Look Hispanic and they take you. Now, there are a lot of Hispanics who've been born here. And so they'll take you and just, we'll check you out later. We'll take you now, check later. And this girl, she had all the ID. Here's my birth certificate. Here's my driver's license. Here's my everything. I said, no, that's BS. That's all phony. That's no good. We're going to take you and deport you. Deport her to where? This was her home country. But at any rate, she had lawyers immediately jump on this. It went right to a court. The court said, you cannot do that. You cannot deport her. Well, they deported her anyway. This is the system we have here. It's crazy with courts. You want to make a court order, but it takes weeks and weeks and weeks before anything happens. And so, at any rate, they're deporting U.S. citizens now. Not whiteys just yet, but or blacks for that matter, right? The blacks, I guess, they belong here. So they're all good to go. Cattle futures market. I was watching this thing about the cattle farms. They're suffering so much now. And especially with the tariffs. But this was talking about an aspect of it on Wall Street, how Wall Street bets on, everything. They bet on everything. That's what Wall Street is, essentially a casino, a betting casino. Let's gamble how much it's going to be. And they think how much is the stuff's going to be worth in the future, so that we'll buy it now. And they can change the price, even though you're growing the cattle, always costs the same. It doesn't change. But these guys will say, we don't think it's going to cost it. The prices are going to go down. We're not going to give you what you made. And you people take a loss. It's crazy that we have these things, these out of control corporations that control the seed, these Wall Street markets that control the prices of food. This is where the country needs socialism, right? Yeah, you need government control. You need some more control over sanity. Just get some sanity here. All right. How about this? I was watching this fellow playing a musical instrument, and I said, "Wow, that's a nice sounding accordion." You don't hear an accordion too often, so it sounds nice the one time you hear it. But no, it's not an accordion. It's not accordion. And he was big to point this out. It's a bandonian. It's a bandonian. And he just, to help you better understand, he says, similar to a concertina. And I said, oh, yes, yes, of course, a concertina. Why didn't you just say that up front? I would have known what you were talking about, concertina. I got 5 of them in my shop right now. I go to concertina concerts every weekend. They're really a lot of fun. People go crazy. Concertina. Anyway, it's a bandonian. It's a nice sounding instrument. Kudzo. You know kudzo if you're from the south. From your north, not so much. It looks like ivy. Those beautiful ivies on Ivy League schools. Well, this kudzo is killer stuff. This will tear up everything. And it grows, insane. You put down one leaf and come back tomorrow, and 10 acres are covered with it. And it avoids herbicides. If you try to put herbicides on it, the root systems close up, and it tells all the kudzos around there, shut down, and they wait until the herbicides have dissipated, and then they open up again. And CO2, plants like CO2. These guys love it. It's like on steroids. And these guys, they terraform the ground. They release nitrous oxide, which changes the biology, makes it good for them and bad for everything else. Plus, these vines, they're slowly starting to mutate into, sort of like flexible trees. They're like, vines aren't trees, right? They're these crawly things. But these things are becoming like trees where, you want to try and say, okay, I'm going to cut down all these kudzo, got my chopping axe, and you're going to need some badass saws. Boom! And the thing is, you cut it down, it doesn't do anything. All the little pollen, the powders that come off, they just grow 50 million more seeds. You know how you get rid of it? Goats, cows, and cattle. They love kudzu. So if you want to get rid of all your kudzu, go to your local, cow rental dealership and get a special. Tell them you heard it from Generally Speaking, and they'll say, never heard of them, but you're welcome to buy our cow. So in the University of Oklahoma, they justified a student paper. A student paper, what? She wrote a paper. It was a psychology paper about gender, something or another. Said, here, read this article and comment on it. And it was very open-ended. You could pretty much say anything you want, but you did have to reference the article. You did have to say something about the article. So this girl, she just decided to bring in her Christianity, her views on gender differences, and just went on a long spiel about what the Bible says and what a man and a woman are supposed to be separate. No mention of the article whatsoever, nothing from the article. And she got an F. She failed. Well, what do you do when you fail a class? Well, you write to the governor. And you write to the president of the university, and you write to everybody you can possibly write to, and they get all up in arms because this is University of Oklahoma, where they're all biblical everything, and they said, your paper deserves not to be accepted as an F on your grade average. And what's more is the teacher who was teaching it, it wasn't a teacher, it was a teacher's assistant, a TA. That teacher can no longer teach at this school. This is the patheticness of it. These are the people we're fighting. I'm fighting, my group. If you're a church-going Bible person, you're probably going, yay, yay, that's a way to go. But, if you're not, if you're on the other side, you've got people to fight. And I'm going to give you a story about people to fight later on because, most Christians, they don't get involved with all this heavy ass stuff. But, there are groups who do. They get very intense and they push it and they get severe about it. And we're going to learn a little bit more a little further on. The American Bar Association, that astute, that prestigious outfit, they're suing Trump because of the way he's been attacking law firms. So it's really a little shocking to me that they are willing to sue him, because there have been many instances of lawyers doing things that would ordinarily get you disbarred. And the American Bar Association would do it. Well, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's not them. It's the individual state that they come from, the Bar Association of their state. And, well, like so many of them have so far declined to prosecute or disbar any of these Trump lawyers who are just doing things illegally left and right. But the American Bar Association finally standing up and saying a word or two. All right, Nick Fuentes. Here's something Nick Fuentes said. He said, man, woman, sex. If you have sex between man and woman, that's gay. That's gay. I don't know where these people come from. That's gay. I don't even know what he means by gay. I mean, typically, gay is same sex person. Usually refers to man on man. We use the word lesbians for girl, but gay is generally same sex. And he's saying man, women, sex. That's gay. Like, you shouldn't do that. I just don't know where the guy's coming from. All right, here's a young lady. She was talking about her deconstruction. What's deconstruction? That's when you've been a Christian all your life, raised in the Christian family, gone to the Christian school, go to the church every day, and finally it dawns on you that this is all BS, and your whole world is like just turned upside down, because your whole world was based on something, and it's always disturbing when suddenly your whole world is turned upside down. But she was saying one of the things that got to her was at her graduation, she was a valedictorian. She was the top girl, and she was listening to someone making a comment about her that she'll make a great pastor's wife or an English teacher. Not something that a valedictorian could achieve something higher, being a doctor, being a CEO, being change the world person, United Nations, a senator, something. No, she'll be a great pastor's wife. And so this was just one of the things that got to her. And I can understand that. All right, schools, schools, they got bullies and they've got rules against bullies, but it seems like they never do anything about it. Bullies will bully you. And if you fight back, yeah, it's amazing. If you fight back, you get punished. Bully gets nothing, and you get kicked out of school. It's just crazy. I think schools really need adjustments. First of all, they need to get the crazy kids, into a separate place. And the kids who are susceptible to being bullied, they need to be put in a separate place. Although I imagine if you get the bullies out, then the kids who get bullied don't have to be put in someplace separate. So, but I think schools, definitely need some revamping, both in those social matters and in the education. You need more education about what's in the world, what comes in the world, what do you encounter when you get there. You don't encounter algebra, that's for sure. I imagine you have to teach algebra because somebody might become an engineer, mathematician. So yeah, but they need some kind of changing. Okay, UK, United Kingdom, they designated some protest group, Palestine Action, as a terrorist group, and they've arrested people. And some of them are on a hunger strike now. When you get arrested, you can be held until just for a certain amount of time. 6 months is usually maximum, and so they're being held without bail. And they've been past their 6 months, and they're going on hunger strikes now. And some of them are getting near death. And the UK, the Labour, is refusing to meet with the lawyers of these people, of these imprisoned people, and they censor the prisoners. They can't get papers. They can't talk to their parents. I mean, what is this? This is Nazi stuff. And everybody likes that word, Nazi, Nazi, Nazi. All right, let's think of another word. This is authoritarian. This is mobster. I like that word, mobster. Nobody has anything against calling you a mobster, right? This is mobster stuff where you won't let people talk to lawyers. I used to think great things about Britain. I used to think great things about the United States. And first one to fall was the United States. It wasn't until later that I realized Britain, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. They're just as bad. So, at any rate, good luck to those people on their starvation. I hope they don't die. West Virginia, the prosecutor there in West Virginia, he warns that women might be prosecuted for miscarriages. So he says if you're going to have a miscarriage, if you have a miscarriage, you should report it to the authorities, because we want to investigate that and make sure you're not trying to give yourself an abortion, and that's what it is. And so this is what we're coming down to now. They've got to report if they have a miscarriage. All right, back to the extremist religious groups I was talking about earlier. The Southern Baptist Convention. They've got a platform that opposes same-sex marriage. Nothing new there. Adult entertainment. You know how they feel about that, but never heard it like put forth as an issue. But here, this one. This is a great one. Willful childlessness. Willful childlessness. So now they're telling us we have to have kids. We have to have kids. And now this is a Southern Baptist Convention. These are no small group. These are people with influence. They got influence, with politicians and the people in their states. The school boards and this, that, and the other thing. And these are the people I'm talking about. It's not the normal people in the street. It's these organizations that become forces, and they become powerful and hard forces. All right, Texas. Texas is saying this is along the same lines. If they can detect birth control or morning after chemicals in the water supplies, so they can outlaw them and say now you can't have birth control and you can't have the morning after pill. And so more of this attacks on our women's reproductive rights. More of these attacks. So there you go. Got a lot in on that one. I hope you liked it. Dang it. I should have said, please like, subscribe, and notify. Oh, I didn't. I said it now. Usually nobody makes it this far. If you did, God bless you. And hope you have a happy new year. And you all take care.